Hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Eckler's math class. This is lesson number 1 of our geometry unit, and these next 3 lessons we're going to be looking at a lot of vocabulary. These are vocabulary words that most of them you've had since kindergarten, and these are words that you've got to know. You've got to be able to call things what they are and use the right terms with the right descriptions, because writing and testing and showing what you know. And when you point at that thing and you call it a thing, rather than pointing at it and calling a point or a line segment or array, higher scores on the tests shall occur. So without further ado, I'm going to go up to the corner and we're going to begin our lesson today. This is geometry, PowerPoint number 1, points and lines. Our first section is all about the lines, and don't worry, you'll get the point. See what I did there? A little geometry. Never mind. A point, finally. After all this time, you can now use the word point correctly and not get scolded by your teacher for saying point as a decimal, because this, folks, it's a dot, actually. It's a really big decimal. No, it is a point. A point is any point on a plane surface that you point at and go, you are here. When you go to the mall and you look and try to find your favorite store on the big map of the mall, there's always that little red circle that says you are here. When you're driving down the road and you look at the GPS on the car and you got that little arrow that's pointing this way and that way, and you're on the road and the road's going this way and you're going that way, that little arrow is a point. That point is you driving down the highways of life. Enough of the silliness. We also like to name things in geometry. We like to name everything. In fact, every point usually has a designation. Because this is the first point on my surface, because this is the only point on my surface, I shall name it A. It's a good name. I would show that this is a point named A, because A. This is a ray. This is ray A. Ray A goes that way. Now keep in mind that a ray is not a line. A ray has a beginning. Lines do not. Rays begin at a single point and they extend through a secondary point, and this is the way that we show which way the ray is going. And this could be called ray A or ray AB. We would show that it is a ray because we would put a ray over the top of the letters. Okay? Now, this point B could go anywhere on this segment of the line, and it is a ray again because it starts at a point and it goes on in a single direction to infinity. And that is what that arrow designates. It goes that way. Trying to go the same direction as the screen, and it's opposite. It goes this way forever. Okay, a line. A line is similar to a ray, but a line has no beginning. It has no end. It goes on in both directions forever and ever and ever. Now, I can look at this line, and I can say from point A to point B on this line, and this is line AB, but again, it doesn't stop. The line extends beyond the points, okay? I would name this line AB. I would show it as a line versus a ray because I would put a line over the top of the letters. A line segment. Imagine if I had a single piece of spaghetti that stretched to infinity in both directions. A, I'd be really full. B, if I took a pair of scissors and snipped here and snipped there, I would now have a segment of that long line of spaghetti. And that's exactly what a line segment is. A line segment is just multiple points along a line. And I would cut it at both ends and pull it off and say, hey, this is my line. In this case, I have 4 points on this segment. And I could talk about any points in any combination. For example, if I talked about line segment AB, of course, I would be discussing those two, or this part of the line between the points A and B. If I talked about line segment, make something happen here, CD, okay, I would be showing segments C and D, and I would write it down this way. But what if I had a segment that looked like this? What would I name this? That awkward Dora moment. I would call this line segment BD because it extends through C. I don't need to talk about C. Don't even want to listen to him. He's got nothing to say to me. All I want to talk about is the beginning and the end point. I don't need to say that it goes through C. So I would call this line segment BD. Make sense? Good. Let's move on. When lines interact, it keeps going and going and going. A parallel line, or I should say parallel lines, are two lines that extend in the same direction that go on forever and ever, and never shall the two meet. The best parallel that I could make are a set of railroad tracks. One set for the right wheels, one set for the left wheels, and they go side by side down the road forever and ever. Never that the two sides of the railroad crisscross, because if they did, you'd have a horrible accident and bad things would happen. So we don't want bad things to happen, so our railroads never crisscross. And here again, we have the two little segments of AB and CD. They're going in the exact same direction. Never the two shall cross. Then I have intersecting lines. Aha! Now we have lines that are going to go crisscross. I have two lines, line AB and line CD. And now lines AB and CB cross. They intersect at point X. Point X would be called the point of intersection. Okay? The best parallel to look at, or example rather to look at here, would be an actual intersection of two streets. And that's why they're called intersections, because the road would be the line or the line segment. And where those two roads cross would be the intersection. Make sense? Sure it does. Most intersections, on the streets that is, occur this way, as perpendicular. Whereas the two roads would cross, one going east-west, the other going north-south, and they would cross at a perfect 90-degree angle. 90 degrees, again, is like the corner of a square or a rectangle. And these lines intersect perfectly at 90 degrees. When lines intersect at 90 degrees and only 90 degrees, they are perpendicular lines. And perpendicular lines are intersections, but not all intersections are perpendicular. Only intersections that meet at a 90-degree angle are perpendicular lines. You can rewind that if you want. That's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day.